Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to the NNR Media Podcast. In this episode, we'll be discussing if Ryan Pace is in the hot seat, and also draft prospects that the Bears could grab like Anthony Gordon, Jalen Hurts, and others. Thanks for tuning in again, and hope you enjoy this episode. Speaking of going into a hot seat if your season goes bad, NFC North report, do you agree that Ryan Pace will be on the hot seat if they have another bad year?
I mean, I think that's the obvious question. I think the harder question is, will he be fired? And
right.
And to that, I say no. I think that he will keep his job. I think that they'll give him one more chance with a first-round pick because, remember, I think the majority, if not like tied for majority of his years in Chicago, he's not had a first-round pick. I think with the draft class coming up, I haven't done much research into it, but I think that the McCaskies, I think that the ownership will want to give Pace one more year.
That's totally understandable. And to be honest, and I've said it in a couple of my posts on Instagram, but everybody has got to understand, and I'm pretty sure anybody who knows anything about football knows that this draft this year, regardless of if it's virtual or not, is one of the best draft classes on paper I have ever seen. I mean, literally every single position is stacked. Quarterback to even like punter is stacked with players just waiting to be drafted, and I don't think Chicago not even having a first round pick this year hurts them that much. I really don't. But I agree. I think Pace should be on the hot seat. You know, there's some moves that he has made that has kind of hurt him a little bit, but it's all the stuff that Ryan Pace does that Bears fans don't see, and that is, right now that man isn't sleeping or doing anything like that. He is working. He's sitting there in this office that he has at Hallis Hall, and he's just got all these players written down and trying to figure out how. And to be honest with you, I think they're going to use a bundle of those late round picks to maybe try and get somebody, maybe in some sort of desperation, but I don't think Ryan Pace really feels the heat right now, to be honest. So I totally agree with what you're saying, North Report. How about you, Bears? How do you feel about Ryan Pace potentially being on a hot seat?
I'd have to say that I don't think he'll be in the hot seat because, I mean, so this is kind of off topic, but he has we have two second round picks.
Yeah, 43 and 50.
Yeah, 43 and 50. Honestly, I'm not mad about what we have for draft picks. Pace always scores in the later rounds.
Yes, he
does.
I'm
going to say that we got Bojack, we got Tariq Cohen, he's good. He's actually great.
Might I remind you, both of those are fourth-round picks, which Pace traded for a backup quarterback.
Yeah, but real quick.
Okay, hold on.
No, but Ryan Pace, just real quick to defend actually you, Bears. Ryan Pace can easily turn, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's 2 7ths and 2 6ths, I think, that we also have in this draft, aside from a 5th. Ryan Pace can easily flip a couple of those 6s and 7s into a 4th if he really wanted to. If he really did. I mean, it won't be that hard. And worst case, maybe he offers a 4th from next year, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I absolutely expect Ryan Pace to make serious moves to get more involved in day 2 of the draft. That's not just the second round, especially if they do end up trading up in the first round to maybe get a tackle or a guard.
That's where our draft picks come in. I want Jalen Hurts. I want Anthony Gordon. I don't think Kyler Bray will cut it for the quarterback.
Absolutely not. No. Continue. I'm sorry.
Yes, absolutely not. Anthony Gordon is a great guy. I feel like he is definitely going to be one of the most successful quarterbacks. I've watched so much tape on him. Oregon's defense, I don't really watch college like that, but Oregon's defense was top tier, and he played amazing. He slung the ball. He showed the deep ball. He showed the quick reads. He notified the blitz. I mean, anything you can think about, Anthony Gordon is a fit. Jalen Hurts, I don't know. I mean, Jalen Hurts wouldn't be a bad option.
Jalen Hurts isn't pro ready.
No, but neither is
Okay, I
neither
like
is
that.
Anthony Gordon. To be honest, really, any quarterback that Chicago is gonna get who's not in the second round, and even if it is a second round quarterback that's gonna be there, that's gonna be too hard to pass up on. I don't think Chicago should start a single rookie quarterback in their first year whatsoever. I don't.
They're not drafting a quarterback this year. Let's be honest.
All right,
I
I
would
will
hope
bet you
they
they
do,
do.
but they probably it all depends on it all depends on Ryan Pace. I love that man so
Because
much.
they're in win now mode, they can't afford to waste a draft pick on another quarterback to compete for not a starting job.
All right, so
That is a phenomenal take. That's a phenomenal take. I like that.
so what
I do
about
like
this
that.
though? So what about this? So whether them be true or not, apparently Mitchell Trubisky was trying to be the Chicago Bears were trying to trade Mitchell Trubisky a couple weeks ago during the end of the free agency period. Whether it be true or not, Mitchell Trubisky still at some point looked at his phone and was like, "The Bears want to trade me," and he reached out to somebody and was like, "You guys want to trade me?" You know what I mean? That's gotta hurt the ego a little bit.
Absolutely, I feel like it definitely affects him mentally. But like I said, the competition definitely will. I mean, like I
But
said, like if you know somebody's going to take your job, are you going to perform better? Absolutely, 100%. You know,
all right,
and
so
I feel like
well,
go ahead.
with what North Report said, right? Okay, so if you don't think the Bears are going to draft a quarterback, why? I mean, I get why you would say that, and I partially agree with both of you. I think Chicago should draft a rookie quarterback, but I don't think they will. And then part of me also is swip swapped. I don't know how to feel. It's not my team, so it's not a big deal. But why else would they be interviewing guys like Jake Fromm at the NFL Combine if they had no intention of drafting somebody like Jake Fromm? Does that make sense?
That is true.
Smokescreen.
I mean, yeah, maybe that too. Ryan Pace always has cards up his sleeve. He always has something planned, and you never know what's happening. I mean, think about it. Can you remember back in what was it, August, September, at least late August of 2018, when you woke up that one day and you were like, the Bears are trading for Khalil Mack, and you're like, huh, I heard nothing about this. You woke up to that news. You know what I mean? And I'm expecting something like that, either grabbing a quarterback, trading up in the first round, to happen with Chicago. Do you or do you not agree?
Absolutely. Yeah.
No, I don't.
Oh man.
I don't think that there are enough players that Ryan Pace will fall with. I think really the only needs of Chicago right now are an offensive tackle, so Tristan Riffs, who will be gone by whatever time either Chicago will be picking, or if they trade up into the first round, they don't have the assets to trade up into a top 12 pick. So Riffs will be gone by then. Their other position of need would be strong safety to replace Jordan Lucas, or cornerback. But I think that they can find a late round gem, Trevon Diggs perhaps, or another cornerback like that.
Would you be opposed if Chicago traded both their second round picks to get into the top 15?
Oh, I'd love that. I'd absolutely love that. I mean, the depth in this draft, like in our opinions, said, it's insane. I mean, you really can't go wrong unless you're really in like the seventh round. Then obviously they're going to sit for a few years. But I mean, if we can score Isaiah Wilson from, I believe it's Georgia. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, he is from Georgia. Our O line would automatically improve. If you watch that guy block, that's all I got to say. Just watch him block, check him out. Like I said, he's predicted to go. Actually, I did 3 mock drafts. One time I did the mock draft, he was predicted to go in the first round, and the other were the second. But it was like the top of the second, so like pick 33. If we can get Isaiah Wilson, this team will do a complete backflip for the offensive line.
How about you,
I
North
feel
Report?
like two second round picks. I think it's great. So.
I agree.
I think
I can see that. Go ahead, North Report. Sorry.
I think that's a very hypothetical question. I don't think any GM in their right mind would trade a top 15 pick for 2 2 early second rounders, or no, not even early second rounders, 2 mid second rounders. I think that Ryan Pace needs to do what he does best, and instead of trade a boatload of
Trade more draft than
late,
he already doesn't have.
right?
Yeah.
Like there's so much depth in the draft. He doesn't need to jeopardize finding late round gem and trying to trade up into the first round.
Okay.
Perhaps NFC North report. I was actually speaking to Aaron Lemming on Twitter, and he said that the Bears can trade a top like a high third round pick, like if they did acquire it, and they could get into the first round.
I'm sure they could.
So now with that being said, I do partially agree with you, North Report. I think it'd be a little crazy, especially for somebody to accept that trade. But for instance, say the Seattle Seahawks, who I believe are sitting at number 27 in the first round, who Pete Carroll and that front office has been kind of famous for trading back. Especially when it comes to day one of the draft. Say, for instance, Chicago trades up to 27 and only gives away that 43 pick. That's a pretty doable trade. They might have to throw in something from next year, maybe a third or a fourth from 2021 draft. But what if they did that? And say they went up and grabbed somebody that was just like an aggressive pick, like say somehow like T. Higgins was available, or one of these great at least on paper looking like Pro Bowl, future Hall of Fame linemen. Would you be happy about that if they at least went up maybe the 27th pick?
It depends who's on the board.
Exactly.
Ryan Pace needs to fill the holes in his roster, not try to trade up for a T. Higgins. Because you have more than enough depth at, say, the wide receiver position.
Right. And really, realistically, with all that being said, of course, I was just using like T. Higgins as a reference. And I don't think Chicago needs to really make any adjustments to its receiving core.